A TikToker known for posting dark web content recently uploaded a series of videos about a website selling suspicious shoes that appeared to be covered in blood, leading many to wonder if they once belonged to murder victims. He actually ordered a pair, and what happened next will send shivers down your spine. Let's investigate. If you enjoy internet mysteries and generally disturbing content, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can become a Ko-fi member or a channel member to gain access to uncut videos and other perks, or you can leave me a tip by clicking the thanks under this video. Thanks to anyone who considers this. Shiloh Hill is a professional wrestler who also has a TikTok account where he posts videos exploring the dark web. In May 2025, he shared a website with the name The Shoeman. It had the slogan, "The Keeper of Souls," and as you can probably guess, it was a site selling shoes, but this wasn't your average shoe store. There was something obviously off about it. Rather than a description of the shoe that you usually see on shoe sites like white leather sandal or black patent heel, these shoes had human names like Daniel, Sally and Eduardo. Some were just labelled as unknown. They also had ages listed, so there was Pete, 20 years, John, 19 years, Clara, 17 years, and so on. This could just be some unusually labelled second-hand store. Maybe the names and ages were for the people who were selling them, but the shoes were all in pretty poor condition. Many of them are battered and discoloured. I don't know why anyone would want to buy these to wear, especially at the prices they're charging. They all seem to be over $100 a pair, some were as much as $200. There were some muddy flip-flops for $160, a pair of shoes with the sole coming away for $170, a single muddy boot for $189. Also, let's not forget this is the dark web. Anyone innocently selling their old shoes could do so on eBay or Vinted. The fact that this store is on the dark web suggests there is something more nefarious going on. What's even more concerning is that some of the shoes on the site have stains that look like blood. At this point, it's starting to look like something bad may have happened to whoever owned these shoes before they ended up on the site. A few people in the comments suggested that the shoes belonged to people who had been kidnapped and that the shoeman wasn't actually selling the shoes, but rather the people. I highly doubt this because of the prices. It's a lot for some battered shoes, but not that much for an actual human being. To me, it seems much more likely that the site is selling shoes belonging to people who were already dead, possibly murdered. This would make sense with the slogan, "The Keeper of Souls." I guess they don't just mean shoe soles, but human souls too. It's inevitable there will be people out there with some kind of shoe fetish who also get off on the idea of killing people too, so I guess the shoeman is catering to this niche audience. Other commenters also suggested that the listings might include video footage of the hypothesized murders. At this point though, the only way to find out for sure would be to put in an order, and that's exactly what Shiloh did. He decided to order a pair of size 13 beige boots costing $129.95 that were named Waylon, aged 29 years. These were the only shoes on the site that were his size, and they also happened to be covered in red stains that look like blood. A slightly creepy finding is if you Google something like Waylon murdered, you'll find a cold case from 2011 involving a man named Waylon Bullcoming who was killed in a hit and run. The incident was ruled an accident, however his mother believes that it was intentional. It occurred between 10:30 and 11:15 PM on a road in the middle of nowhere, and Waylon's mother can't see any reason why he'd be walking in that area late at night. He was also hit so hard that he was essentially dismembered, which is absolutely horrifying. Remember, the boots on the site looked to be covered in a lot of blood, and I'm guessing the cause of Waylon's death would have resulted in a lot of blood loss. I couldn't find any information on what he was wearing at the time of the incident though, or if his shoes were missing, and it is worth noting that Waylon was 28 when he died, whereas the listing states 29 years old, so this is likely just a coincidence, but it is kind of eerie nonetheless, especially considering Waylon isn't a very popular name like many of the other names on the site. Another possible victim is a man named Waylon Eugene Burnett, who died on the 30th of June 2018. This man was 29 when he died, which is the same age as the listing, however I couldn't find any details on his actual death. I found an obituary, but it doesn't give any indication of how he died, so I think we can assume it was due to natural causes or illness. There'd almost definitely be some articles on it if he was murdered. Given that the boots on the site appeared to be covered in blood, you would imagine that whoever they belonged to was either murdered or killed in some gory accident, so they likely didn't belong to this Waylon. A more concerning potential match with another pair of shoes though are a pair of black Oxford shoes listed as Evelyn, 21 years. A 21-year-old woman named Evelyn Joyce McDowell went missing in November 1983 after calling her sister to say she was at a bar in Napa, California, and someone was trying to get her. The line went dead after this, and she was never heard from again. A few days later, her mother received a parcel in the post that turned out to be Evelyn's address book with a note that read, "Joyce, you don't know me, but I found this on the beach in Lucerne and thought you might want it. Dave." Police later tracked down this Dave and ruled him out as a suspect in the case. When they went to the area he'd picked up the address book, all they found was a woman's sock tied at the end and filled with rocks and sand. The case is still unsolved to this day. What is concerning about this case with regards to the website is that the shoes on the site were black Oxford shoes, and according to the Charlie Project, Evelyn was last seen wearing dark-coloured Oxford shoes, so that's the name, age, and shoes that all match the details on the website. Evelyn went missing in 1983, and one might question how this site would acquire her shoes over 40 years later, but this is the most compelling potential match so far. Shiloh uploaded a video showing the process of him ordering the Waylon boots, and there were a couple of strange things to note. First of all, he had to enter his name and his birthday, which he said he'd never been asked before on a dark website. There was also a section that said, rental length 1 to 10 years. Rental length for what? Is he just renting these boots and not actually buying them? The price did increase when he entered a higher rental length, but are they really going to expect him to just post these boots back in a few years? A couple of commenters suggested that this may be for the hypothesized video footage of the deaths. That would make more sense than for the boots themselves. Maybe the order will give him access to the footage for a specific length of time, but there isn't actually anything on the site that mentions a video. This is all pure speculation from Shiloh's followers. Anyway, Shiloh placed the order and it said he'd receive an email with tracking info, which did suggest a physical product was being sent to him and not just a digital video or something. He was fully prepared for this to be a scam though, and said it's possible they'd take the payment and never actually send the product. He did check the website right after though, and the boots he bought were no longer listed on the site, giving him hope that he would actually receive the product. I can't actually believe he gave them his address. If it were me, I'd be worried they'd come for me and my shoes would end up listed on there next. Remember, it asked for his name and birthday as well, and all the listings have a name and age. The next video Shiloh posted showed email confirmation he received with the tracking info, stating that the order was on its way and should arrive on the 2nd of June. A couple of days later, he uploaded another video saying he got notified that the shoes had arrived. Thankfully, he clarified that he had sent them to a PO box, not his actual home address, but I'd still be worried that someone would be waiting there and would follow me home or something. Anyway, he brought the box back home to open it and it contained something wrapped in bubble wrap. Lo and behold, when he cut through it, it turned out to be the boots. They looked the same as the photos on the site, complete with the red stains, and seeing them on video, it certainly looked like blood. One mostly just had blood splatters on it, and the other had a large patch as if it had been soaked in blood. Shiloh mentions that the luminol he ordered to test the blood is arriving tomorrow, then right at the end of the video, a VHS tape drops out of one of the boots. The next day, Shiloh says that the luminol should be arriving while he's at work, but in the meantime he tried using some hydrogen peroxide. When hydrogen peroxide comes into contact with blood, it reacts and produces a fizzing effect. Blood contains an enzyme called catalase, which breaks down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen, and the release of oxygen is what causes the fizzing. When Shiloh dabbed hydrogen peroxide on a clean-looking part of the boot, nothing happened, but when he dabbed it on one of the red patches, it went foamy. As he acknowledged in the video, there are various other substances that will react this way with hydrogen peroxide, so this is by no means proof that the red patches are actually blood, but it at least suggests that it could be. As for the tape, he said he was going to buy a VHS player to see what was on it. In the next video, the luminol has arrived. Luminol is a chemical compound that glows when it reacts with certain oxidizing agents such as blood. The iron in hemoglobin reacts to it to cause a blue glow, hence it's used in forensic science to detect the presence of blood, and it works even if the blood isn't visible or if it's being cleaned. So in the video, Shiloh turns off the light, sprays the boots with luminol, and they start glowing blue. Now it is worth noting that blood is not the only substance that reacts with luminol. Others include bleach, fecal matter, and horseradish. Since the boots clearly aren't covered in bleach, feces, or horseradish though, blood is probably the most likely possibility. After this, Shiloh managed to find a VCR player, but when he tried to play the video it didn't work. He then got another one and this time managed to play the tape. It was just over an hour long and he only showed a few seconds of it in a TikTok, but streamed the rest on Twitch. It started with the site's branding, the Shoeman, Keeper of Souls, then has some strange clips that don't really make any sense in the context of these boots. One is a jar of Prego pasta sauce which gets poured over some pasta. Shiloh claims that there are parts of it that he can't show on the stream, presumably because they're too inappropriate, but the clips we can see in the TikTok don't look particularly concerning. I guess it's alluding to something concerning, but there's nothing actually incriminating in the clips themselves. The rest of it apparently just contained a bunch of old movie scenes in reverse and clips of shoes with blood splattered on them. It's exactly the type of thing you'd expect some edgy teen to throw together and post on Reddit claiming it's cursed or something. And that's why I now have serious doubts about the authenticity of all this. Why would a website selling boots from real murder victims include some bizarre tape featuring what looks to be a shitty ARG attempt? I did have some doubts about the website and the boots anyway. I've never been on the dark web, but from what I've heard, most of it isn't anywhere near as bad as people make out. Sure, you can buy drugs and other illegal things on there, but it sounds like most of the super disturbing stories, from red rooms to hiring hitmen, are mostly fabricated. I'm sure these things do exist on there, but I guess they're pretty rare, and most sites selling such things are fake and probably scamming people too. So if Shiloh really did just stumble across this site while browsing the dark web, chances are it was fake anyway, but it's entirely possible he created the whole site himself. I did find a Reddit post about all this on the Onions subreddit, which is dedicated to the Onion router, the browser you have to use to access the deep web, and a number of users were saying that they hadn't been able to find the Shoeman site on the deep web. Shiloh visited it multiple times over a number of days, so it's strange that no one else has come across it. Apparently everyone in the chat on the Twitch stream was asking for the link and he just ignored them, which is also pretty suspicious. This isn't even the first time he's been accused of faking a dark web story. A couple of years ago, he covered Whisper to the Beast, which was supposedly a dark web AI model. Again, various people said they weren't able to find it themselves, and many pointed out that it wouldn't even make sense for such a thing to exist. Furthermore, if this was real, Shiloh is literally tampered with evidence in a potential criminal case. The second he received those boots, he should have just taken them straight to the police. Even if he didn't know for sure they were genuine, why take the risk when it could be the difference in a murderer being caught and a case being solved? Luminol can degrade or destroy DNA too, so even if he took them to the police now, he may have already ruined their chances of actually investigating this. Not to mention the fact he talks pretty lightheartedly at times and jokes about wearing the boots to work. That's pretty insensitive if he really thought they might have belonged to a murder victim. As for the luminol, it would be possible for him to fake that too. As I said before, there are a few other substances it reacts to, so in theory, I guess he could have just bought some boots, covered them in fake blood, applied another reactive substance over it, then sprayed it with luminol to make it look like it was reacting to blood. Alternatively, bear in mind that luminol reacts to any blood, not just human blood, so if the blood on the boots is real, it could have even come from an animal. I will say that if this whole thing is fake, it is relatively well done. For Shiloh to go to the effort of creating a website, uploading photos of shoes with details that line up with real-life cases, covering a pair of boots with fake blood and testing them with hydrogen peroxide and luminol, then creating a VHS tape that's over an hour long, is certainly more impressive than the majority of ARGs that exist these days. Parts of it are pretty convincing, but if I had to put money on it, I'm gonna say it's fake. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments, plus any topics you'd like me to cover in the future. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Huge thank you to my Ko-fi members and channel members whose names are on screen now. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in a new video.